professor. My name is Gary Metzger. I'm a professor of journalism at Cal State Long Beach University. And Dr. Joy, Dr. Bob Singhal, is our main person, as always. Nice to see you again, Dr. Joy.
Thank you, Gary.
Dr. Joy, I'd like to start with a couple of things today. A
Yeah.
little bit off the wall, but I think you'll enjoy them.
Okay.
Number one, from Aristotle. Well being is synonymous with happiness and is the whole aim and end of human existence.
Hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Because well being, wellness, happiness, joy, they all kind of live in the same general family structure. And, you know, it's interesting. You start with wellness, well being, and joy and happiness. They all kind of come around together as one thing. In different ways, we define what is happiness, what is joy, what is wellness and well being, and so on and so forth. But I think you need all of those together, and it's one thing which can be summed up with joy. Because joy is within, internal. So, anyway, I totally agree with that.
One of the things that I love about JoyScore is actually being able to put a score to put something together to measure your joy.
Right,
That's what JoyScore is all about.
right.
And so this next item that came to me, it like had JoyScore written all over it, and
Ah,
I knew I would have to bring it up today. In doing a little bit of research, I found out that one of the most popular classes at Purdue University is called Psych 13200. Now, you and I are used to 400 level classes, maybe even 500 level classes, but this at Purdue is Psych 13200, and it's called The Science of Well Being.
ah,
It provides a scientific and psychological account of well being. It's taught by Dr. Louis Tay, and the course addresses multiple aspects of well being, including the measurement of happiness.
whoa. So, how do they provide the measurement?
From what I found, it didn't give that in detail.
Okay,
It
okay,
was a course catalog
yeah,
type of a thing.
yeah.
But from what I read very briefly, this is one of the most popular courses at Purdue, which I'm sure, or at least in
I,
case you
I,
don't know, Purdue is a Big Ten
I have
school.
no doubt. And, interestingly enough, my journey with joy started in 80s, which is 30 some years ago. And it was in my deliberations and discussions of designing on the right side of the brain with Betty Edwards, who wrote a book called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain. So around that time, I realized that unless one is able to connect with right brain, creativity, and intuition, it's very hard to achieve any success as a designer, as a person. And then I realized as I help my students be joyful that that seems to be the root of everything in life. Like, if you can just learn to be joyful, one thing which is just learn to be joyful, your self esteem improves, your way of looking at things improve, your wellness improves, your health improves. In fact, we're still in the process of providing substance and proof of concept, but we have identified relationship between JoyScore, credit score, JoyScore, wellness score, or anything in life, because it's pretty much JoyScore is a score for success, and I kind of have been made fun of when I talk about my doctrine, where I believe that people should not, a boy and a girl should not date each other before they have a joy score of 50, not get married 55, not have children before 60, because that's what we need. I mean, we talk about wellness, happiness, and then percentage of people. Now, I'm going to ask a question and see if you can answer it. What percentage of uh, newborn babies you think come in this world unplanned?
I would say that unplanned births are probably 35%.
No,
Is it more?
60 to 70%.
I would have never thought that.
Yeah. Let me give you a little. See, when I counseled my students, and especially in office hours when they walk in and we talk and see what's going on, and 90% of the time when I found students having trouble in my classes, I could trace it back to their dysfunctional family that they were born in. And I said, my God, why are so many families dysfunctional? Why are these kids, are do they all end up being in my classes, or do I attract them somehow, or that's the norm? And then I realized that is the norm, because in researching it out now when I say unplanned, unwanted, put them all in one category. But let's take for discussion what percentage of the kids are actually born with parents having planned them, consciously made a decision that we're going to have a child, we're ready to do it, we're together as a couple, we have our act together, our finances together, our life together, and we can handle a child. That is no more than 30%. So, meaning, unfortunately, 60 to 70% either was an accident or incident or an act of a girl and a boy getting together, you know, unplanned, undetermined, or whatever. So I feel, and again, uh, had a discussion with our psychiatrist in Welty a week ago, and that number one thing searched on Google, number one, is depression and anxiety. Meaning, that's what people are suffering from. Number two was obesity and diabetes. Now, we are in the process of developing proof of concept where we feel, and we have done some experiments where JoyScore is able to provide people support in both areas, in obesity and then diabetes, in depression and then anxiety, because JoyScore is a wellness app. So when people become well and connect with themselves, conscious of their health and wellness, half of the problems go away. That's
No, that's very true. And you, talking about relationships, I'm noticing in many of my classes when I see a student who has missed 1 week of classes, maybe even 2 weeks of classes, and I reach out to them to see if they're okay, there is always a relationship
Problem.
issue.
Yeah.
Almost always.
Yeah.
Almost always. I'm having trouble with an ex boyfriend. An ex boyfriend keeps harassing me. I'm having trouble with this. And it seems, since the pandemic and everything, um, I'm looking at a lot of those types of emails from students who, for some reason or other, can't make it to class because of a depression issue, a self esteem issue,
If you take just those few things you mentioned on the fingertips, self-esteem, depression, relationship,
relationships. Yeah.
upbringing. See, I don't know if we talked about this, and if we have, we can touch on it again. In my way of thinking, why do I say that one should not have a child unless they have a joy score of 60? Because that means they are now well, in a sense that they are ready to move on in their life. Because bringing a child in this world is a responsibility. It should not be an accident. It should not be a unplanned reality and say, oh my God, what are we going to do now? It should not be a surprise. It should not be a shock. It should be a pleasant experience. Because when I had my first son, I have to tell you that was the most beautiful experience of anything in my life. Nothing was so beautiful, nothing was so significant, but I was ready for it. And I was in the operation room with my wife. And when the baby cried, I cried with emotional outburst. So, what I'm saying is that a child has to be planned and welcomed, not, oh my God, what are we going to do with it? You know, and that's what happens, that we have such a large percentage of children who come in this world not welcomed, not nurtured. I mean, development of a child's mind or brain starts at the time they're conceived, 9 months before they're born, and then 7 years after they're born, and then 7 to 20, 21 years while they go through all the development process and teenage years of hormonal changes and things like that. So, technically speaking, let's say roughly speaking, till their age of 20. And that's what you see in your classes,
Most definitely. Yes, most
because
definitely.
so you're dealing with a situation which either came out of dysfunctional family upbringing or relationships problems, and some of those relationships problems you could trace going back to their upbringing, because there was something they did not learn or were not taught. In fact, JoyScore is, you can call it a concept of teaching people how to live a life. It has 9 chapters. One of them is relationships. Because people don't understand how important it is to have a good relationship, or what it means to understand what is relationship.
Right. So, Bob, you mentioned that before you have children, you should have a joy score of
60.
60.
Right.
So, for those of the people listening out there who aren't on joy score yet, and shame on you, can you share with us how do you get to a level of 60, and what does 60 mean?
Okay. So, number one, it really is a quick few second answering few questions to get a joy score. You download the app called JoyScore from App Store. Then you answer 9 questions, and generally between 5 to 10 seconds, you have your joy score. And whatever the joy score is, I mean, some people may have high, some people low, But whatever it is, the first question comes to their mind and they ask me, how can I improve it? So then we have different apps and games and content in the app which helps you improve your joy score, because the whole app is designed to improve your joy score. And what it teaches you is how to be on a life journey of improvement, meaning you never stop improving.
Amen.
If your joy score is whatever it is, you continue to grow and improve. And as you improve your joy score, you see the benefit of it in your life improving, you becoming more successful, you connecting with yourself more and your friend more, your kids more, your friends more, everybody. It's like a journey becomes more beautiful. It is all of a sudden starts having the meaning, because joy score is almost like a meaning in your life, you know. As the joy score improves, the meaning improves. Your capacity to love yourself improve and love others improves. And that's life, you
Right.
know. So
Right.
joy score is about teaching people how to live and how to improve your life. How to So when you improve your joy score, you improve your life. How to live.
So, Bob, with all the data that you've collected, is there, have you found that after people answer these questions, is their joy score in the low 20s, in the high teens, in the low
Well,
30s?
no, most people would come in between 30 and 50. Some come in higher, meaning the joy score to start with is 63 or higher even. So that is an indication of where you are. But that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. If you're lower than 50, you simply need to work on certain aspect of it, because it gives you a score in mind, body, and life. So you see three scores, and the combination of three gives you composite score. But whatever the score in the three is lower, you work on that aspect. If it's the body, you work on the body, or if it is the life, you work on life, or mind, you work on mind. So, but within matter of days, weeks, you can figure out a way to improve your score in that lower area, and then your joy score improves and
Right.
goes higher. So, but it's just an indicator, because, and I have no doubt, because this app is going to be a universal app where people are going to be asking each other before they date each other, "Hey, what's your joy score?" you know, or people before they go to university will try to find out what is the joy score of Cal State Long Beach versus Cal State Northridge,
Right.
because soon, in matter of time, we'll know the joy score of anything and any place and any company in the world. And that's where the data would be so valuable, because we'll know what is the joy score of this country versus China. You know, China did a study about 6 years ago how to understand how happy people are in China, and they were shocked to realize people are very unhappy in China, because everybody is treated with disrespect, and they don't have freedom. Freedom is the most important thing for happiness. You know, that's like a fundamental right of a human being.
Right.
And when that's taken away from you, you are not happy.
Right. Right. Very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that would be very interesting. You know, a student is getting ready to graduate and they've been approached by a company. It would be great to see, okay, what is this company's
Joy
joy
score,
score?
exactly.
Exactly.
And you know, it's not only that, you know, companies compete with each other. And the way companies from now on is going to be competing with each other, and we'll help them improve that, because we have a program. You know, Matt Cullen. I mean, we we helped his company improve retention of employees, because they were losing 30% of the people and turnover. And he come to me and say, "Hey, can you help us?" You know, so we have a way of helping companies improve their performance. or key performance indicators. And the same thing we are able to do with insurance companies, bring their cost of insured's health maintenance down, because when people become well or they understand wellness, they don't get sick as much.
Right.
And when they don't get sick as much, they start performing better. So it's all kind of the same thing.
Yes, very
So
much so.
single thing which is JoyScore helps every aspect of it.
Very much so. One of the things I ask my students to do every semester is to keep a diary, if you will, of the media that they use. And by media, I mean movies, video games, social media, television, radio, things like that. And one of the things that is consistent throughout the students is their use of music to keep them joyful.
Mm-hmm.
And so I looked this up. Interestingly enough, a Dr. Michael Bonshore, who has his PhD in music psychology,
Uh-huh.
studied music in relation to joy. And so he found that to create a happy song, a joyful song, it's the combination of a major key, like the key of C or the key of A or A minor, things like that, a beats per minute of 137, a strong four beat, like one, two, three,
Uh-huh.
four,
Uh-huh.
and a verse, chorus structure. And he revealed that the number one song that makes people most joyful is a Beach Boys song called
Wow.
Good Vibrations.
Oh my
It
God.
has all this combination of things. And he did a survey of 2,000 people, and it revealed that 32% of this 2,000 people turn to music daily to improve their joy.
Absolutely. You know, that is very true. And I'm not familiar with that study you talked about, but I think it sounds like a recipe for happy music, you know.
Yep.
And I Cal State Long Beach has one of the finest music departments.
The Bob Cole
Yeah,
Music
yeah.
Conservatory.
So I'm gonna, because I have a lot of friends in the music department who, I mean, a lot of them have retired, but I still know some. In fact, I see one every morning walking by on Second Street
Sure.
when I walk. And I'm going to bring that up. In fact, if you can send me a link to that study, I want to bring it up and find somebody who could actually create joyful music for JoyScore based on that principle.
Yep. So it was a major key,
Uh-huh.
um, 137 beats per minute,
Right.
four beats in every bar,
Wow.
and a verse chorus structure.
Wow. Interesting.
James Brown was in on that,
Oh, wow.
and the musician Pink, she had a song
Really?
in there also. Yeah.
Really
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah. So yes,
So,
I will
see,
send you that
out
link.
of millions of songs out there were few which were singled out to represent that research that he did.
Exactly.
So this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, sure. So that is it for today,
Okay.
everybody. Thank you so much for listening, as always. And stay tuned for another episode of The Joyful Professor.
Thank you.